Well, hello there. This is Shane from Shane's Reviews, and I hope you are having a great day today. Today, we're going to be talking about A Time to Kill, which was wrote by John Grisham and narrated by Michael Beck. And this is a book that was actually suggested by one of you wonderful people. It was Rockman's 1994, about 3 weeks ago. I've had some books that I've had to get through and so there we go. But I did mention that this was going to be outside of my genre for the most part, but I don't see any problem in going over something like this, especially if you guys want to know my honest opinion on the book. And admittedly, this is a book that both of us have agreed that it's outside of our genres that we usually read, and so this could be interesting nonetheless. So, essentially, what needs to be known is more of a crimes lawyer type of a book, and it chronicles what has happened to a specific individual and the aftermath of what has happened to that individual, and then the court proceedings that happen because of what happened to that individual. So there's multiple things that have happened inside of this book, and in my opinion, this book is really antiquated. The language that's inside of it was almost unbearable, if I'm honest. I really did not like that part of the book. I think I understand the author's intent, but wow, there was a lot of just not cool slang. So if you can look past that and you can actually look at the story, then you might actually enjoy this. Would I recommend this? I don't know if I would. It's not that it wasn't well wrote, but it certainly wasn't the strongest book that I've ever read. There's been a lot of sci-fi books that have better story tie-ins or better believability whenever it comes to this and this and this happened, and then, oh, I worked myself into a corner and now I have to find a way out. And that's kind of the way that I felt that this book went, because it started out, there was these two, lack of a better word, rednecks that ended up doing something horrible to a very young person. And then, whenever they're about to be sentenced or are being sentenced, the father of that young lady comes into the courtroom with a AK-47, I think it was, or an AR-15, some kind of weapon that is automatic that the military would have been using during Vietnam, and then takes care and dispatches of the people that did this to his daughter. So then the book becomes more of a long haul of what's happening to the attorney that is supposed to be taking care of this family in their time of need. And it certainly wasn't the strongest book that I have ever read. There was a lot of inconsistencies on the trial. There was a lot of inconsistencies on, because you are the main protagonist of this book, you get the outs. You get the easy way to go, especially now that it's been to the point where it's you're going to lose no matter what happens. Oh, here's a magic car key. It made me think of, what was that show? Kojak, I think it was. Whenever he would question people, he would let them think that they'd won, and then he would turn around at the last second and go, oh, by the way, this is an old show, by the way, I think it was 70s or something like that. And my father hated that, but he always watched it, which was kind of funny. But myself, I kind of find that kind of a thing annoying too, and I think it's lazy in writing. I don't know if this was a book based on a true story or not. I don't care. I'm not looking it up. The subject matter of the book is really heavy and kind of hard to process, just simply because it involves people that are so very young, and then people that get killed because of their actions, and then the parts with the Klan, parts with this, that, and the other. I mean, during the time period, all these things would have been accurate. The ideologies that the people had, I think, would be accurate for this story. It's all accurate, but it's just stuff that we need to let go of, in my humble opinion. Not what happened to this person in the story, but just all the pent-up rage because somebody is a different shade than you are needs to be something that's not a thing anymore. And until people get that in their heads, we're we're going to have stuff like this that almost idolizes that sort of mentality. And I don't like it. I don't like that kind of a thing at all. I'm not putting down the person that recommended this book. Let's be clear. Rockman's 1994. It was an excellent suggestion because it was exactly what I had asked for. I had asked for stuff outside of our genre. You nailed it. It's completely outside of our genre. But it's also one of those things that it's so very ignitable. It's something that so many people feel so strongly about. And with the way that the world has been run in the last 4 years, all these forgotten mentalities seem to be actually coming back up again. And they need to be put down to rest. They need to go away. And until we do that, that kind of a thing is just going to continuously be there. Now, as far as the story, like I said, it's a okay enough story. If you're into the crime genre or attorneys trying to get somebody out of a pickle genre, this book will probably be right up your alley in a big, big way. But for me, it was just so much of the stuff that we all need to get past. It shouldn't be a us versus them. We should be one people by now. And until we get to that point, things aren't really going to get any better. I hate to say that. But anyway, I digress. So the story follows that attorney like I was talking about. He ends up having a star witness that gets put down immediately because he had a backstory that wasn't something that was known and came out in court. And that backstory was that he fell in love with someone that was a year or two younger than him, I think it was. She was like 17 or 18. He was like 20 or 21. And they actually did fall in love with each other, and they were dating. And fortunately, though, the daughter was the daughter of a judge. And so the judge put this guy that's a psychiatrist through the ringer, charging him with statutory rape and all kinds of things. But the rest of the story that was just left out until several chapters later was that he actually was in love with her and she with him. They got married, had a kid, and then the judge expunged his record. So this is a thing that shouldn't even have been brought up, with the exception of somebody just trying to make somebody else look bad. Now, as far as the mentality type stuff that was in there, even the way the book was wrapped up, it was done in such a way that I cannot endorse. Essentially, the jury was having a hard time coming up to the conclusion of, is this person guilty? Were they in charge of their actions? Were they in charge of their mental faculty while they executed two people and injured others in a courtroom? And the way that they came up to the solution was, there was a woman that was saying, well, imagine that instead of it being two white guys that did this to someone, well, let's make it two black guys. And that was how she convinced the entire jury to say not guilty. I think that's wrong. I think that's the wrong way to look at it. And I don't like it. I don't like that kind of a thing at all, because it's endorsing all the things about race that are bad. And I'm not really trying to be on a soapbox. I'm not trying to be a warrior or anything like that. I think the way that story was told could have been told in a better way. I really think that it could have been done in a way that didn't involve having to put down race and people of color or people of not color in order to get to the point where they were able to actually conclude the story. It left a really foul taste in my mouth, especially with every other word being a racial slur. That kind of a thing is hard for me to get through. And before everybody throws me under a bus and all that kind of a thing, just know that everybody has a different familial type situation. It's not that I have exception. It's not that I have this, that, or the other. It's not that I'm going to tell you anything about my family or anything like that. But it's one of those things where I might be a little bit more sensitive to it because of, and I can't really endorse it. Now, that being said, I'm grown up enough and all that I realized that this was something that was wrote quite some time ago. I understand that maybe the things that he was trying to accomplish by using this kind of put down, put up, or insult sandwich, or etc., whenever it came to the actual colors of the people in the book being whatever they were, it was a rough sell for me. I think that he might have been trying to do something good or tell a story that was appropriate for the time period that it was in, but it would be the same thing if I picked up a book and it had nothing but explicitive this, explicitive this, explicitive this, because I look at that the same way as I look at explicitives. They're there for one of two reasons. Either a person is trying to express something and they're short of the language, so they refer to the most poignant language that they know, which is often a curse word put into XYZ spot to prove a point or to try to express themselves, because they just don't have the poignant language to be able to say this or this. So it kind of, it's like a smack in the face to me every time I hear that word or read that word or most of those words in any kind of combination, especially whenever there's so many. I mean, it seemed like there wasn't a sentence one without them. Now, I know there was, but it was like being on a train that you just got hit with a hard R over and over and over and over and over and over the whole time you're on the train. Not cool. But I digress. That's my hang up about the book, and probably why I didn't like it. If the book had been told in a way without that, or used in different ways, I think I would have liked it a lot more. And I know my energy seems to look a little bit down, but it's only because I'm retrospective. I'm thinking about all the expletives that was in that whenever it came to that regard. I think that some of the silver lining stuff in it is that the person that was being defended, that, in most people's minds, would be actually not really guilty of doing anything wrong with the morality of they killed two people, justifying a wrong, which certainly was a wrong. But that's really lost in this book. I think that story could have been so much more if the gentleman that had shot the people in the courtroom, if more of his life was explored. More of, I know that there will be no justice for my daughter that suffered all this stuff that was done to her, and horrible too in the descriptions. So I'm going to take this into my own hands. But the problem with this is this guy knew what he was going to do, did what he did, killed these two people. And it's not so much that it was that there was two people that was killed that was the problem. It was that he knew what he was doing and he killed them. And the morality question that I got from the book is that if your loved one is attacked by somebody, do you have the right to kill the person or persons that afflicted that person? And in my humble opinion, the answer to that is no. I mean, you may want to, and don't get me wrong, if you did, would probably have closure, and then also your family or relative or whatever would also have closure, that they wouldn't have to worry about that individual or those individuals ever again. So in that regard, okay, I understand where he's coming from and why he did what he did. But do I think it was right? No, I don't. And that was another thing that killed me on this book, was that part of the realism. Now, justice does not always equate to morality being correct. And morality doesn't always equate to justice. We all have seen this in our own lives, or especially if you've ever had a family that got split and then you go to court, this, that, and the other. Justice, as they say, is actually blind, and it usually does come down to how slick your lawyer is on if things come out to be equative to your own morality scale. And in this one, I mean, that lawyer was good, and he did a good job for his client because he was set free. But should he have been? That was the question that I was left with. And every time that I look at it, I know that horrific things happened in the story to his daughter. And I get that. I understand that. But the problem that I have with it is that anybody that was trialing or trying to go to trial and had something like that they were looking at, everybody would know that that person did wrong to correct wrong. And as we also know, two wrongs don't make a right. So those were the main things I had an issue with in the story. Was, one, the morality scale was off. Two, the language that was so antiquated that it really shouldn't have been in there to begin with. Three, the story was kind of weak, especially whenever it came to how long that book was. And there you go. There was some inflammatory things that was scattered throughout it. That was, I guess, designed to show this, that, or the other. But the problem with it is it was acts of violence that shouldn't have been there. It was distracting from the story. And granted, I understand that the author was trying to show that people that would be in the clan would not be of the most focused mind or the most morality, because their morality would be completely different. And so, why would you attack somebody that was helping a lawyer in pretty much the same way that the victim that all this stuff started with was attacked in, with the exception of trying to scare? And so he was trying to set a thing in the book where the lawyers wanted to, or the lawyer that was defending wanted to move it to a different location, but the point that was being made over and over was, well, everybody knows you're not going to go anywhere, that you're not going to be able to get away from this, blah, 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 blah. But, now there's crosses being burned, there's people being attacked, there's things that are coming up missing, there's houses or a house that gets burned. So it's like all this stuff that happened all backs up that these people were horrible people, but from history standpoints, we all understand that these people were the horrible people to begin with. So instead of wasting 300 to 400 pages on saying how horrible these people are, people can fill in those gaps on their own. They don't need that. And the main problem I had was just all these people using all these words that shouldn't have been used to begin with in that story, and these things not actually adding to the story or convincing me that the story is really that important. I think that was the other reason why I didn't really gain anything from reading this book. I didn't see anything new from a court system. I didn't see anything that would be advantageous to adapt into life, or I didn't have any new ideas or concepts that were formed because I listened to this book. In short, do I think this book is worth your time, efforts, and energies? I do not. Especially not on the people that have come to our channel expecting sci-fi and this, that, and the other. And the main reason why I don't think it's worth your time, efforts, and energies are everything that I've listed before. If I continue to relist those things, I will be no better than the book. But, it was a read and it was different, for sure. So thank you for the recommendation. I know it sounds like I'm really down on this, but I'm not down on the person that recommended it. Don't think that, I'm not. And if you have any other recommendations, please feel free to leave them down there in the doobly-doo. Leave your recommendations down there, and we will check out the books. Thank you so much. If you made it this far, you're my hero. Thank you so very much. Please make sure you hit the subscribe button and maybe smack the bell, and that way you will know when the next video comes out. I'm not sure which one of these videos that are coming in that you would pick, but if you happen to pick that one, I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.